All right, welcome everybody to. I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and a happy and getting ready for a good New Year. First, we're just Brendan's going to do a welcome as well. Brendan.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing? Hopefully, I'm coming through clear. Keith, can you confirm that we're having some internet issues? So, hopefully, we're coming through clear. Thank you guys for joining tonight. I know it's just after the holidays. We appreciate your time. We'll go over a couple different things as we go through the night. Obviously, there's been some several different proposals. Let's look at everything. Let's hear everybody out and kind of just set the course for the future. So, Keith, do you want to take it away?
Jeff, would you like to give us a financial update?
Sure. As they say in the big white building in Washington, the state of our union is good. The financial state of the union, at least, is good. This past year, we had over 20 registered teams, over 600 registered members. Happy to say that when we took over the finances back in early 2022, we are within $600 of what we started with. So we are running fiscally responsible and have money in the bank, which is a good thing for our association.
Thank you, Jeff. Team USA update. That's me. We did attend the Japan tournament. Did really well. They're really they're how do I want to say this? Their commitment to the game has really, it really shows. They're doing a lot of stuff. They built the field, the community support, just everything they had over there this time was just really accommodating, and it was really nice for the players that went over and to enjoy. We did play their local teams that were they had tons of college and just community players and professional athletes on their teams. They had quite a few individuals with disabilities, and it was good competition. They played well, and they really love it, and they really got into it, and it was a lot of fun as well. You can, if you want to hear more, please reach out to some of the guys that participated, and they can share their experiences with you. But it was pretty nice. It was fun. That's all I got from that. We can go into that later. USA update. USA softball update. Brendan, you want to jump in that? You still choppy?
Yeah, guys, here you go. Sorry if I'm coming through. I'm having internet issues on this side. So, I'm still searching for a World Series tournament site. There is no official bid been placed yet. We have two different things working right now, possibilities. One being a little bit more solid than the other, but hopefully we will have that announced here shortly. It is my goal. We are talking to somebody that I think in the long run, Keith and I have discussed it, the board and I have discussed it, that could hopefully bring also a bunch of sponsorship opportunities, both on the national level and the hopefully the local level for each team. So to be continued on that side of it. Anything else, Keith, on that side right now?
Nope. 2024 updates. John, are you on? I'd have John by that, but if you plan on hosting a tournament, if you plan on hosting a tournament, please drop it in the send it to John so he can put it on the list so we can start coordinate those tournaments ASAP. That'd be great.
Yep.
Bruce, I know Bruce has a comment for the Junior World Series comment, so he can put that in there right now. I know they had a date for the juniors.
Can I have just a second, Pete?
Yeah.
So Nebraska would be willing to host a World Series for the juniors this year, separate or bifurcate it from the adult World Series again, if possible. We would host it here. Schedule would be dependent on when the adult World Series is set. And then also, of course, when possible, any other adult tournaments are set around or before that tournament. But obviously, it would probably be at the near or the end of July from a period standpoint. But I'd like to encourage, I know Josh Mayer from Nebraska has volunteered to possibly lead the junior coordination or get the teams that are involved in the junior division active and communicating to determine when that date would be and who could participate and how it could work. So Keith, if you would want to possibly work with whoever might be appropriate to coordinate the junior activities, I'd be willing to, as a local host, to work with them on a World Series if this would be the best place to do it, if this were the most teams could come. And if not, it could be played wherever it needed to. So I just wanted to throw that out and see what happens.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Bruce. Also, Jim just put on any word on the Atlanta site. No, we have we have some possible things up. If you know anything out there, if you heard of something, have them reach out to Brendan or myself, so we can put them on the list. But that's where we are right now. So okay. Yeah, that goes into the 2024 wheelchair softball update as well. We are working on some things. So I know quite a few of you have reached out to me because you're trying to schedule vacations. I am too. I got a marriage retreat I'm trying to schedule, but it's not. So I'm trying to do a whole bunch of stuff, but I have no word on it yet. We're still working on it. We can only work as fast as we can, but we do have some backups if some other things don't pan out. So that's our update with that. Before we go into these rule submissions that we're going to talk about today, this was the rule submissions based on, we're doing it this way based on some people feeling that they need to be heard. All of the rules need to be out there. So I would like everybody to put in the chat if you're a team representative, where you're from, so we have record that you were here and we know which teams were here. So if you're a team representative, please put team representative and which team you represent in the notes, so we know that you're represented here at the meeting. Okay. Please put your phones on mute, your phones or your devices on mute. So we'll give everybody the respect. Okay. Let's go through here and mute some people. Give me a second. Who is this Samsung? All right. Okay, so the rules of this is going to be the person that submitted the rule will have you have 3 minutes to talk on your rule. You have it in front of you. You can read it, get some better understanding. There will be no voting on the rules tonight. This will just be to get some people to be heard, get you further background on your rule, your proposal, so we can move forward and the people from the Rules Committee can hear the things that you have to say about your rule and your rationale and all of that. So, and to be considered for voting. So first, we're going to start off with, I don't know if I saw David Richardson. David Richardson, you're here? Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
David Richardson has a rule. He'll be able to talk about the rule he submitted. He has 3 minutes, and then he can, someone from his team representative can speak on behalf of the team representative as well for 3 minutes. So if you're ready to go, you're more than welcome to go.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so my rule is just about at home plate. There's been a few times where players like wheel over the middle and their casters are wider than the base. It's the only base that you could possibly wheel over the middle of and not have your casters hit. And I think that if you go through the middle of the base with the middle of your wheelchair, it should be considered touching the base, even if technically the wheels don't touch because you've gone over the middle of the base. It's the only base that would be considered because the other ones, like I said, if you go over the middle of them, you're going to touch with all four wheels. And it's in my opinion, the umpires don't really see whether or not the person's wheelchair is wide enough at the foot plate to touch the plate. There's only probably 10 players that actually are wide enough that their foot plate won't go over the middle. So, but I've seen it called multiple times with multiple players that aren't wide enough to actually do it. So I just think it'd be easier on the umpires if you just made it, if you go over the middle of the base, you've gone through the base and should be called safe. And then on top of that, if with our quads, if a quad is sitting above the base, similar to how you would sit above first base and the ball's being thrown home, having our quads have to make sure that, you know, either front wheel or a side wheel is on the base. Doesn't really make sense, again, because if they're stationed completely vertically above the base, they would be touching any other base. We haven't widened home plate due to you know, it being like where you're pitching, right? So you can't widen it, you can't make it deeper or anything like that. So it just makes sense that in the scheme of how all the other bases work, that we would consider home to be similar. And that's really all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have anybody else you want to speak on this rule or this proposal?
No, I don't believe anyone needs to speak on it.
Well, thank you very much for your submission. And the committee will take it into consideration for voting. The next rule was submitted by James Bufus and from the Shepherd Sluggers. So if you would like, if James, if you're on, you're more than welcome to speak on your rule submission.
I am on, Keith, but I don't have a copy of what I submitted. I do apologize.
Okay.
I believe you have it there. You can read it, and I'd be okay with that.
Okay. The rule is players can put legs on the players can put legs on the outside of chairs and swing with both hands. Proposal, players need one or both feet on the foot plate and swing with one hand. Rationale, while swinging one-handed, it is possible by everyone that plays wheelchair softball. Swinging with both hands is not due to the differing limitations of a lot of players. If the NWSA truly wants to create parity amongst teams, leveling the playing field, make all players feel like they are not at further disadvantage than what they're already deal with in their disability, and want the sport to grow, then this simple rule will accomplish that immediately, all without compromising the integrity for the game. As a rationale behind the feet on the foot plate, same justification pretty much. In addition, let's not forget this sport is called wheelchair softball. People that are in wheelchairs have their feet on foot plates. Some of the things able-bodied players do with their feet is nothing more than creating unfair advantage.
Thank you for reading it. I appreciate it.
No problem. Is there anything you want to say on that? Your time starts now.
No, I have nothing else to add. I think that the way it was written speaks for itself, but I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. That was the second rule that was submitted. Third, third rule was submitted by Dylan Springer from the Tulsa Twisters. Are you here, Dylan?
Oh. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. Basically, my rule is kind of the same as his, but I could go into more detail about why I agree with this rule. Playing college baseball, I kind of have a background of the idea of what I'm talking about right here. What he is saying, and a bunch of other teams have noticed too, is the people that are basically like an amputee or have feeling in their legs is they're not keeping their feet on the inside of their foot plate. They're moving it to the back of their wheelchair on the arm that sticks out. And what they're doing is they're using all their weight on that leg to create power and torque and momentum to swing. And also, if you recognize when they're doing it, they're not buckled into their wheelchair. So they're able to explode up through the ball, which is creating more force and power off the bat. So basically, they're standing up, but they're sitting down in a wheelchair, is what he was getting at and what I've noticed a lot. And most of the teams that hit really well, they're all doing it. I don't think the two hands on the bat would cause as much as an advantage. I understand what he's going with at that point, but my thing is just more of the keeping your feet on the inside of the foot plate, which is why it's called your foot plate, as to sticking your foot on the back on the outside to push off to get more force on the swing itself.
Anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of that one? Your team rep.
Unless Anthony wants to, I don't know if he does. He's on here, but Anthony, do you have anything to say?
I'm on. I'm LinkedIn, but I don't have anything to add. Everything that you wanted to get across, you got across perfectly. I couldn't add anything to move this forward. Any?
Okay, thank you for submitting that rule. The committee will take that one into consideration as well. You have another rule. It's by Dylan Springer, Tulsa Twisters again. Rule is standing while the game has started. Would you like me to read that one or what you submitted?
I did submit it. No, the thing I think that I want to get across on this one is I know that in wheelchair basketball, once you are seated for the game, you can't get up. Correct? Is that the rule?
It's not a rule.
It's not a rule. Okay. Well, again, this is another thing that I feel like it should be a rule only because it is a wheelchair sport. We're playing wheelchair sports, and there's teams that got guys that stand up and are swinging 4 bats on deck, pushing their chair to home plate, when there's teams that have nobody, that have power chairs and are in regular wheelchairs. And we're there to play a wheelchair sport. We're not there to showboat that we can stand up and swing 4 bats and then sit down in our chair when we get to home plate and then stand up when we hit it out. And there's teams that do it, and there's multiple teams that do it. And I just think that if we're trying to play a sport that is showing a disability, when there's people in the stands that are saying, why is this guy standing up on deck, or he's standing up playing catch before a game, it's confusing to the sport, and it doesn't look good on the sport. And that's a thing that I feel like if we really want to grow this sport, people have to see what the sport is for what it is. And I think that there's multiple people that see it, and I don't think it gets said enough, and I think that's a problem with why it hasn't been addressed yet. And that's one of my things I wanted to put out there, because I feel like if people can see it on Facebook Live when we're filming and streaming games and are talking about it, then it's being seen all over the place, and people are wondering why it's happening.
You for that rule, that proposal. and the Rules Committee will definitely bring it up for discussion in their meeting and go from there. Yeah, anybody else, does Anthony want to speak on that one? Team rep? Are you good?
I mean, I'm good on that one. The only thing I can bring to it is just one of those things to where a lot of people can peg who your best hitters are just by watching your games or just by word of mouth and different things like that. So the aspect of it as far as like the grandiose that type of things, it's like it's one of those things that do you really need it? That's just it. I mean, if you're an awesome hitter, you get up, the ball comes in, you rack it. I mean, it is what it is. You can't do anything from there. Nobody's gonna not pitch to you or anything like that. You just got a good hit. We'll just clap our hands and move on to the next player. So that's it.
You. All right. The next two, the final two proposals are not proposals that the Rules Committee will be addressing. These two proposals will be something that the board will be a proposal that will come from me that will propose to the executive board so we can implement them to help further our game. So so those will be that. So the first one was awards, and this was submitted by Brendan Downs from the Minnesota Twins. Brendan, do you want to go for there? Do you want me to read this as your internet may not be good?
Go ahead and read it, Keith. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Rule awards proposal: creation of International All-Star 5. The international team players will not be eligible for all tournament awards. Rationale: my proposal is that Team Japan remains eligible for a World Series tournament, but individual international players will not be eligible for all tournament awards. Instead, I propose the creation of an International All-Star 5, Best Class 1, Best Class 2, Best Class 3, Best Class 4, and an MVP. This should protect the U.S. athlete as they build a case for the Hall of Fame while also respecting the true nature of the tournament at the World Series. Anything you want to add to that, Brendan? 3 minutes.
No, I just think it helps protect, like I said, the U.S. athletes as they build their resumes with Hall of Fame. I know as Japan has won the last two, they have taken home quite a few all tournament awards, and that's been a concern expressed to me. I don't think it's ever been, to me, directly expressed about removing Japan altogether. It's been more so about the individual side of it. So I get the Hall of Fame track and concern, and so I think this is a way around it. To be fair, I'm sorry I didn't get it over to you in time. Apparently, I do have a second draft where that's towards international teams in general, not just Team Japan. Who knows where Team Ghana goes at some point. Hopefully we have a Netherlands. There's several different groups that we're talking to currently in Europe that are starting programs. So we hopefully will see more teams as they go. Obviously, if it gets to that point in growth, I envision this team, an international breakoff in general. So, but as of right now, it's not that way. There's no competition. And so to respect them and the growth that they've had, they've been nothing but gracious hosts and guests. And they've been an integral part of our growth. And so we need to find a way to talk about it, find the middle ground, but also respect everyone's opinion. And this is what I thought maybe would be the best of, both worlds, I guess.
Thank you, Brendan. Does your team rep want to speak on this as well?
I don't know if Junior Mame is here, but he could say it if he wants to, but I think it's...
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. We will discuss that on the board and go from there. All right. Last rule was submitted by Bruce Freund from the Nebraska Barons. Bruce, you on?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. This particular motion, hopefully you all have seen it or can read it off this paper, but it has two basic parts. the primary part is to put some language in that would specify that teams that compete in our championship or consolation bracket at our U.S. Wheelchair Softball World Series, they be domestic or U.S. domiciled teams. That international teams that may be allowed to attend, kind of based on the tournament host ability to financially afford them or logistically support them, those that do attend would be more than encouraged to continue attending and participating, but participating in an international bracket. And those players in that bracket be picked for their international post-tournament awards. But those international teams not be part of the U.S. Wheelchair Softball World Series championship or consolation bracket. I believe that USA Wheelchair Softball, the primary purpose, because we're an association of our member teams, is to first support those teams, and second, support development of teams in the U.S. that are not yet formed or starting to form. Third, develop the rule set and the environment for wheelchair softball competition. And fourth, host this national annual tournament that all teams can focus toward during their practices throughout the summer and throughout the year. And that's been the case for most teams, and it surely was us when we started back in '98. The local team tournaments throughout the summer were fun, but it was always that national tournament apple that was the big target. I believe that international teams competing in that tournament dilutes and changes the final finishes of teams that are trying to establish themselves, or trying to finish toward the top. I believe that because of the participation of international teams, the all tournament selections now are going to international competitors and not our US-based members. And that then has challenges not only in receipt of those excellence awards, but also in possible Hall of Fame considerations down the road. I do think, again, that international teams, if allowed by our board, and again, we are a US-based organization to primarily encourage the growth of the sport here, but also encourage it and participate internationally. But if it can be supported, then I would encourage those teams international to attend and compete in the division. And I firmly and easily believe that additional games can be scheduled to give those teams a full balance of games while they're here, so they're competitively satisfied. If not, then maybe they come for a different tournament and they come for the Chicago Cup or the Nebraska Cup or the Omaha Cup or whatever. And we set up a tournament venue for them at that time where they can compete against teams commensurate with their competition level and develop some sort of championship designation, maybe rotating annually between countries or some other mechanism. But in no other amateur or adaptive or regular sport are international teams included in their national championships. In none of the Paralympic sport, team or individual, are international competitors competing for the U.S. championships because those individuals are selected to compete for the United States in the Paralympic Games. Conversely, in other countries, no international teams are allowed into their national championships because they, again, want to encourage and develop and foster and promote the growth of those sports within their country by national teams, not by international. And there are international bodies set up competitions so that when different countries want to compete using select teams or club teams or even all-star teams, that they then do so on a stage that has been set specifically for that. So
Bruce, your 3 minutes is up. Do you have anybody else that want to speak on behalf of the Nebraska Barons?
I'm the team rep.
Okay.
So that's pretty much the end of that first part of the motion. The second part was just to establish the name of the tournament, the year-end tournament. Since we are recognized as USA Wheelchair Softball, the name of our tournament, I think very logically, is the USA Wheelchair Softball World Series. That specific title should be very clearly understood that is our championship. Just like the other championships that exist with the designation World Series, whether it be the Softball World Series that's held here in the United States, the Major League World Series. I mean, those are all designated and defaulted back to the United States in their participation. But the name very specifically should eliminate any confusion as to what it is. I believe that the International Wheelchair Softball Federation that was started in 2017 could come up with a designation for a world championship, maybe rotate that championship between countries, come up with a cup or a name of a designation each or every other year where that tournament's held and who can win it or how it can be won. So I think that's the reason for the second part of the aspect of the proposal. And outside of that, I believe that's it, Keith.
Very much. I appreciate.
But I did have a question. How did you say that last proposal and this proposal would be handled?
I'm going to do some research, but it's not officially part of the rules, not a part of the rules committee. So this was to get the individuals for the rules committee, but I am going to look up and make sure that the last two are properly proposed to the board and the membership, how we need to do it. I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure we do it exactly right, how we need to do it.
Well, if I may, as I've kind of participated in this for 20 years, I believe that both of these last two are general motions made to the membership, like other motions have been traditionally made to our general membership at our general membership meeting. And those particular motions are considered by the membership and discussed and then passed by that membership by majority vote. So I believe that's how those two particular proposals should be handled. It's not, as you said, a rule. So I believe you're appropriate or correct in regards to those two being associated with the rules committee designation. But I believe that they're general membership motions that were made in consideration and for consideration by the general membership and vote thereupon. So.
All right. We will put those out there. We will type them up, get them all right, and get it done by our next general meeting.
Well, if I may ask a question, so when would that be? I proposed this particular motion to the executive committee a year ago, which they deferred at that time. And we didn't have a general membership meeting a year ago or this year for which these motions would have been considered and potentially passed. So when would they be considered? I'm not sure when the general membership meetings are and or when these would be considered and voted upon and in place. So could you clarify that for me, please?
I don't have a timetable right now, Bruce, but I will do some work and get that out as soon as possible.
Okay.
If that suffices.
Yeah, and again, I think that both of these would have been, could have been, and part of the general membership meeting this year and should be considered this year for implementation for next year's event.
We will put that on the docket for review, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right, that is the conclusion of all of the requests for the year. I will open the floor for anybody else that has questions from the General Assembly. If anybody has anything, I want to be respectful for everybody's time.
I do have one request, Bruce from Nebraska.
Yep.
The latest rule book that we do have is dated 2/19. Could someone take any more recent rules that have been passed since then and incorporate them into that book for posting to the website and availability to everybody?
Yeah. That it was 2000. What did you say? 2017.
19. Yeah, 19. The one posted out on the NWSA website or USA Wheelchair Softball World or website is 2019.
Yeah, I thought we put a sheet in there that had the updates, but I may be mistaken.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If anybody wants to host this great tournament of ours, please get a hold of somebody. At one of us, we need some locations. We need it sooner than later because as we grow, we need space. So don't be afraid. You got a lot of help that'll help you. We just need people to just step up.
Hey, Keith, real quick, if you don't mind, just, Jeff Hall down in Nashville with the Wheelcats. Really just a question on, I'm just unfamiliar on how these rules or proposals, are they just voted on by the Rules Committee? Or is there an opportunity for team reps that did not submit a rule to, give their opinions on those rules, or just how that process works? And I'll mute so you can answer.
You want to jump in on that one? Don't know how to unmute.
Who are you talking to?
Greg Suing.
Oh, man, it's super delayed on this end. Sorry. So in the past, guys, what we've been doing, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but the plan on this side was the team reps. Yes, you can still vote, right? Obviously, if you didn't submit a rule, not everyone's going to have a rule proposal, so that's okay. We wanted to streamline it this year to get a lot of the rules officially submitted. There was a lot of chatter back and forth. Keith and I's inbox has had a whole bunch of different submissions at times, and we just had to keep referring people to the website. So we're always open to these suggestions. And Keith, you're going to be emailing it out to the team representative, correct?
Yep.
That same kind of policy you did with the World Series last year, correct?
So basically,
sorry, guys.
Basically, we have there's the rule submission, Hall of Fame, all of that stuff is on the Shame data sheet. Everybody your team rep has an opportunity to suggest the rule change for review. Now it's going to go to the wrinkle in it is this part that all the rules that's proposed, everybody will hear them all. And then we will send them out to Greg and the committee will go through it. And they will do their thing on which rule or which submission has teeth and bite, and then we will propose the rules out there for play, and soon enough that you could start playing during the season. So I hope I got that right, Greg. So that's pretty much it. So what's happening is we may have the wrong email. We try to put it on social media. Y'all have to update your stuff. It's the same thing as the World Series, trying to get everybody correct email, trying to get the correct contact, trying to get them to respond. We can only do stuff if people give us the information to get it to you, or we may be sending it to a wrong person. So that we're not trying to say don't submit rules, but we have a platform, a link, fill it out, send it in. It's really simple, and I send it to the committees that have to weed through the stuff to make make the process smoother. So that's it. So I hope that answered your question, Jeff. So if you're missing stuff, I don't know if you're on the list, who to get information, but you gotta make sure that information is getting to you guys.
No, it's not I'm sorry, Bruce. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's less of an issue of that I didn't submit a rule. I'm not worried about that. I was just curious as to the process of if the representatives have the opportunity to weigh in on the rules that were submitted this evening, or if those rules are just heard by everyone, but it was just up to the Rules Committee to make the ruling on that. Yeah, whatever the process is, that's fine. I just wanted a little bit of clarity on that.
for me, as this develops, I think it can be, we maybe, I don't know, next year we can have people submit or chime in on the rules that's been accepted. I mean, but it's all about a process and how long we want to be online. And I'm not trying to rush anybody, but that's why we said, I gave an extra time for your team rep to come on and explain it a little bit more or give some more bite to it. Maybe that's, you have to get some other team reps, talk to somebody about a rule that but you may not even know a rule that's been submitted till tonight. So there is a work in process. I just, we got to figure out what that process is going to be, because I don't want to physically go back and forth with, about rules, because I have my opinions of it, but I have to stomach some of those and just, let them be heard. Bruce, you had anything?
Yes, I can comment in regards to the process up till more recently as to how it could or should work. The bylaws stipulate that rule changes are supposed to be submitted by June 1st, and that's varied between June 1st and July 1st or June 1st and July 15th each year, so that any member, any player could submit a rule change to the association by that time, and that rule change would then be duly considered. Now, the process for that rule change once submitted is it goes to the rules committee, who discusses the rules change and considers it amongst themselves with discussion. And the process internally that occurs there is that the rules submitter is supposed to try to submit supporting language as to why they want that rule changed and how it would benefit the organization if the rule indeed was implemented. The rules committee is also supposed to look for contrary opinions as to what, if that rule is submitted, how that would change maybe in a more adverse way. The rules committee is not really supposed to change the rule that's being submitted, but on time they've amended it to something that they felt was palatable, that maybe a rule change was needed in that lines and the wording needed to be changed a little bit. But if it passes the rules committee, which is supposed to do so before the World Series, at the general membership meeting that was always held at the World Series, there was a vote, and every team had one vote in regards to that rule change. And if the rule was adopted by a majority, then that rule change would be in effect for the following year. If it was defeated, then that rule change was not implemented. So that had been the process for a long time, essentially since the organization was founded and all the way through a more recent iteration. But that's kind of the process. Rules committee determines whether it goes to the general membership or not. But the general membership, through its team representative, then votes. So right now there's 20 membership teams or 18 or whatever the number is. Those 18 teams can vote on that rule, and the rules committee should put out some information saying why they support and the contrary position to it, so that the voters can understand what's going on. But that is all supposedly can be communicated so that the teams understand what they're doing. I would also, I would like to propose that meetings like this, be posted to the website as well as to Facebook, because some of the emails, like this one, went out via email, but I know that there were individuals who are team reps and or players within the association that didn't see or get either. And maybe there's a greater visibility if they are at least posted onto Facebook, like this meeting tonight, or onto our webpage. So that may help in the communication process, because like you said, Keith, there are a lot of changes that occur, team rep wise and email wise and all of that. But anyways, that's the rules per the bylaws. That's how the rules are supposed to be proposed, changed, and adopted. So, okay.
Hey, guys, two things real quick. Coming out of COVID, we've also, Greg can touch on it. He's pulling a lot of the weight with the rules committee by himself, right? There's a couple openings on that. There's a couple openings on different committees that we have. We've had multiple people reach out at different times, but then not follow through on the commitment level on that side. So we're trying to fill those things out. The other thing, coming out of COVID, I was also approached about a meeting like this in terms of getting the point across for what the rules that they're trying to submit. We had a lot of people that said that they submitted things, they never heard anything, and they or they thought it was confusing and they didn't know where to turn to. So they were wanting someone to, or a place to voice what the rule is that they wanted to get across. And so this was the implementation that Keith and I came up with, is to give a chance for you to literally talk about the rule you're trying to get out. And get that. So it's one less thing as the rule committee goes in, there's less confusion, there's less gray area, things like that going forward. So, that is, Bruce hit it on the head. It is the process. Again, some of those committees are been short staffed for a long time, in a very long time. And so we definitely want more participation from you guys. So if you guys have people on your teams that are interested in participating, not even on the board of directors, but on smaller committees, please reach out, let us know.
All right. Thank you all. Hopefully we get some good news shortly. That's about it. All right. If you guys want to stay on and look at me, that's great. I will definitely stop. I'm going to stop the recording.